So today we're going to talk about dogs and children and ways to set them up for success. Now, first I just want to say, I feel very strongly that a child shouldn't get in trouble for being a child and a dog shouldn't get in trouble for being a dog. So an example of that would be kids run, and that's totally normal for them to get hyped up and start running. But it's also normal for the dog to see the child run and then that get the dog all hyped up, and now the dog is running, also jumping, nipping at ankles and things like that. Neither the child or the dog in that scenario should get in trouble for that behavior. That is management. So number one is management. If there is certain behaviors that promote certain behaviors from one or the other that is not what you want practiced, such as the running, causing the dog to jump, tackle, nip, things like that, then maybe the running should be done outdoors, or maybe the dog should be put somewhere else when the child wants to run through the house. But that is management and separation. And never hesitate separating the dog from the child, because there are just times where they're not really meshing and promoting the best behavior out of each other. So that's a good time to separate them. Now, the other thing is the 80-20 rule. I really feel like if a child wants to interact with a dog, the child should always get in the habit of calling the dog to them and not just going up to a dog and accosting a dog. Most situations that happen that are negative, such as a bite and things like that, is because a child ran up to a dog. If the dog comes up to you, you really set yourself up for success that the dog wants the interaction that's going to happen. Now, I think this applies to adults as well, but I think especially for the safety of children, this applies to children. I also always say to parents that when your kid is in another person's home, so maybe it's not that big of a deal to you with your dog, but if you teach your child to do this with the dog in your home, then, their own dog, then when your kid goes to another person's home and they have a dog, they are already practiced in this 80-20 rule, and you've made them safe out in the world with situations with dogs. So number 3, don't allow a child to approach a dog when they are eating or sleeping. If a dog is eating, that is not the right time to go up and pet the dog. When a dog is sleeping, also not the right time to go up to a sleeping dog. These things can startle a dog and cause a behavior that you don't want, that could have also been avoided completely had you taught your children not to approach a dog while eating or sleeping. Number 4, supervise, supervise, supervise. So it's not a great idea to not be in the room, especially if you have young children, to not be in the room when your dog is with your child. Maybe your dog should come with you, maybe your dog should be put up somewhere, but you really need to supervise all interactions because you never know what behavior is going on that you're not seeing. Maybe you're not seeing that sometimes the dog gets, especially a puppy, gets real bitey with the kid, and then the kid's actually smacking the dog, and you don't even know that's happening. So then the behavior you start to see is the dog is scared of the child, or the dog is growling when the child comes near, and you don't know why that ever happened. But if you were there to supervise, you could have stop the interaction, explain to the child why we don't do this, separate it, maybe looked and saw like what precipitated this behavior, so you could have separated them before something came out that you didn't want. Like maybe the dog was clearly getting hyped up or a certain toy was being played with and it was triggering the dog, and you could have got the dog out of that situation so no harm came to the dog or the child in that situation. So those are a few things that you can do to help. Oh, number 5 is don't allow children to pick up dogs. This is kind of not a controversial suggestion, but I can see how this would be something that you wouldn't see is that big of a deal, and that's okay, honestly. I just want to set you up, your dogs and your kids up for success with each other. And I think when little kids especially pick up dogs, you take all their power away, and sometimes they don't hold them properly. I just see when I go to homes when kids are holding, and I really do mean like young kids are holding dogs, I usually don't really love the way it looks and the way it's being handled. And then, I can see the dog's expression and their body language, and it's usually not favorable. So I don't really love children picking up dogs. So let's go over those again. 5 things you can do to set your dogs and your kids up for success with one another. Number 1 is management. Separate when necessary. Number 2, 80-20 rule. That means that the dog always comes up to the child and not the other way around. Number 3, never allow children to approach a dog while eating or sleeping. Number 4, supervise, supervise, supervise. And number 5, don't allow children to pick up the dog. I'm just not a huge fan of that. So I hope that helps you, especially as the holidays are coming, that, you know, I know a lot of people are probably going to be getting dogs for Christmas. So kind of put these rules and these guidelines into practice, and you will set everybody up for success. So happy training, happy drinking, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and please, if you found this video helpful, like, subscribe, share with people you think would be, that this information would really benefit, and that really helps me. So anyway, happy training, happy drinking, see you next time.